Number 1. Their lives are too easy, which leads to boredom. I feel like the main reason why people end up getting addicted to video games is because they have a lot of things that are going well in their lives. How often do you hear about some 30-year-old guy that works 2 jobs, feeding a family of 5 kids, getting addicted to video games? It's quite rare, isn't it? It's almost like he has way more important shit to do with his life. One of the telltale signs of a video game addict is that their lives are just fine, to the point of crushing boredom. They've gotten stuck in the grind of daily life, and they escape that grind by immersing themselves in the universes of video games. Through the artificial challenge, progression, and eventual glory that these games provide them, they're allowed to find meaning and purpose in an otherwise banal life that isn't really all that meaningful or exciting. Video games are similar to drugs in that sense. Only by engaging in that very specific behavior are you able to experience the unique sensations that pull you away from the humdrum of daily life. Video game companies know this, and that's why they make their games a certain way, to provide enough stimulation and fake status for our monkey-ass brains so we can keep coming back to them even though we know we shouldn't. So, how do we fix this? Number 1. The sensations and joys you're feeling through these video games are carefully manufactured to grab and keep your attention for as long as possible. They're inherently predatory by nature, and acknowledging it as a point of concern instead of saying, "Oh, video games aren't all that bad," will go a great way in allowing you to enjoy video games without becoming addicted. Number 2, remember that things in your life can already be fun and challenging and rewarding. The whole point of video games is to simulate that experience by removing the action threshold of getting your ass off the chair and venturing out into the real world. This is accomplished by stimulating that same sense of challenge, but from the comfort of your own home and device. You know there are things in your life that will make you feel better years down the line if you just stick with them, like good habits like studying for exams or like going to the gym or whatever. Just stack your lives with as many of those as you can. Those are the achievements worth fighting for, and not the ones on your fucking Steam profile or something. If you guys are new here, my name is Raybees, and I'm an ex-League of Legends addict. I've spent about 12 years addicted to video games, League and RuneScape in particular, and so the videos I make are content that I wish I would have seen when I first started out in gaming. If that sounds like something you would like to see more of, do the usual YouTube stuff and like and subscribe. Number 2, they have poor impulse control, which leads them to participate in cheap, high-stim activities. This one is pretty straightforward but important nonetheless. Addiction is basically people with low impulse control mindlessly engaging in debilitating behavior. Whether it's gaming, drugs, or alcohol, it all comes down to the impulse tolerance an individual has for that specific domain. An otherwise successful and likable person could have a cripplingly low impulse tolerance to alcohol and be helplessly addicted to it for years or even decades on end. That doesn't necessarily mean this person is a loser with no life skills. Rather, they have a specific activity or a vice that they partake in that overrides their frontal lobe neural processing, entrenching them in a vicious loop. It's important to note that for this specific example, their success and addiction might be interlinked. They might be a really rich person who's constantly stressed about their schedule and they find escape through alcohol. Similarly, it's also like how Hollywood celebrities become entrenched in the drug culture and eventually end up losing themselves because of the repeated exposure. Controlling your impulses is a crucial step to learning how to curb your gaming addiction. The single best advice I can give to you guys is to find something where you can actually dedicate your life to. Something that is not only important for your life, but also something that you like doing and feel is important. I ended my gaming addiction the long way. After years and years of grinding League of Legends, I finally climbed to the rank that I always wanted and became the best player in all of my friend groups. After that, no matter how hard I tried to fall into old habits, the impulse just wasn't there anymore. However, instead of taking 12 years to get there, I could have fixed my addiction in like 12 weeks if someone had guided me into other avenues of sinking my time and ambition. Because that's ultimately what I wanted to do. It just so happened that gaming was the most stimulating and the most accessible means to do this. And this is how gaming addiction starts for most people. They have an urge to do something with their time and energy and end up sinking it into video games instead of doing something productive. The whole process of cleaning out your gaming addiction is to channel the urge somewhere else so you can simultaneously lead a more fulfilling life while also getting your gaming under control. In this world of ever-increasing stimulation, our brains will constantly be at war with everyone and everything trying to vie for our attention. We'll have to not only start building good habits against overstimulation, but also constantly refine them over time to keep up with the increasingly audacious attempts from these fucking billion-dollar companies to enslave us with our whims. Number 3, they are fulfilled with a basic life. This last one is a bit interesting. In my experience, I find that there are 2 types of people in this world. Those who are unsatisfied with everything and those who are satisfied with next to nothing. You're more likely to get addicted if you're the latter. Why is that? It ties in with what we discussed in the previous 2 points, but if you're living in a first world country, you probably have a decent standard of living with most of your needs more or less being taken care of. Additionally, living in a first world country also has afforded you some perks that might be considered downright luxuries in other countries that you also take for granted because you can't really conceive of a world without like your phone or the internet or whatever. The combination of these 2 factors have caused some personality types to become content and fulfilled with their current lives. They are afforded enough benefits and quality of life by their their state of living that any sort of ambition or vision they might have had is quelled in favor of simply bouncing between their jobs or school and their entertainment. I don't mean to sound like a fucking conspiracy theorist or anything, but they've literally fallen into the trap that's set up by like these big corporate entities. When a whole swath of the population become brain-dead consumers who reluctantly accept their way of life with minimal resistance and willingness to change, it becomes easy for these companies that are built for developing and delivering entertainment. A gaming addict gets addicted because they allowed themselves to fall in line with how the consumer's culture operates, mindlessly switching back and forth between job or school and coming home and filling their sensory receptors with over-the-top games, junk food, and other shit. Now, it's hard for me to advise you guys on how to stop this without learning your individual stories. This last one, guys, I can't really pinpoint something specific to say that can like solve this problem altogether. The basic catch-all answer is to simply just be more ambitious, bro. But that doesn't really necessarily solve the problem for you specifically. Being more ambitious is a multifaceted process. Not only do you have to adhere to the tips that I discussed earlier in this video, but you also have to make sure it coincides directly with your specific life situation. Since that kind of specific advice is way beyond the scope of a free YouTube video, hit me up on Discord if you're interested in learning how to solve your own specific problems with gaming. If you guys want to learn more about the loop that companies use to keep your ass addicted to stimulation for the long term, watch this video on League of Legends' infinite game model and why it has so many of its players by the balls and unable to escape. I'll see you guys there. And remember, getting rid of your gaming addiction is actually a lot easier than it looks. Follow me and I'll show you how.